The upcoming solo leveling anime might just suck, and it's easy because of what most folks think when they think of how Crunchyroll can screw it up. And mostly what people usually consider is like, oh, the visuals, the fights, like they have to get that right. But I'm here to tell you that even if they have the best visuals, the best fights, this story can still suck. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. Let's get started. Welcome to the Otaku Guild, where we'll cover the full spectrum of degeneracy, talking about each anime, manga, manhwa, the Otaku way. If that sounds like something you're interested in, why not ding that bell next to the subscribe button? I think when most people remember Solo Leveling, they remember it for the amazing art style, which we got courtesy of the legend Jang Sung-Rak. But the majority of people forget or talk less about how great the story was. Most folks I talk to usually say it was basic or wish fulfillment. While I don't disagree with the wish fulfillment part, and honestly I don't really see anything wrong with those kind of stories, to call the story of Solo Leveling, or better yet, Chungon's only high level up basic, is just straight up dumb. Great art style and visuals don't make up a good entertainment medium. Just ask Game of Thrones final season, the myriad of good looking mangas that haven't reached that height. I read Solo Leveling earlier this December, and I also read the novel about 2 years ago. I made a video on it, funny enough, as my first video to enter 1k views, but that's by the way. I always knew the story of Solo Leveling was good, but I couldn't really put my finger on it or what made it so good. And yes, the fights were awesome, which made the manual better and easier to recommend than the original novel, but still that wasn't it. When reading the novel, it was clear that Jang Sung-Rak understood the story clearly and illustrated the novel to fit the manual medium. It's sad and heartbreaking how the moments where dips in quality occurred also coincided with issues with his health, most prominently the fight against the Demon Lord and a lot of season 2, especially the ending. He wasn't able to give it the love and attention he usually did, and it is honestly saddening to know that this work kept putting pressure on him and worsening his health. Please, dear fans, artists and authors need their break. We don't need any cases of the author of Berserk or of Yoshiro Togashi of Hunter x Hunter or Jang Sung-Rak of Solo Leveling having a manga 3 times a month or every 10 days, which is what Totsume and Fuyuki 23 of the beginning and the end are doing right now. I know it's annoying and uncomfortable, but if you want author and artist to deliver the best and also conclude their magnum opus while also living long enough to enjoy the fruit of their labor, please, we just have to be patient. Because a lot of time people just tend to like over exaggerate or like they didn't think about themselves and not the author. Like, for example, we've had some of the best manhwas and manga so far, but you have people that will still like slam these authors. They'll tell them that, oh no, we want this, we want this, we want to deliver every single week. Not realize that there's a lot of process that goes into writing a manga story, and the author's health also matters, especially if they're going to write a very long running manga for like years and years to come. Around that time when One Piece also started going on break a lot, when they started taking care of health because of different health issues. Because what you would not want is that at the end of the day, the author will not finish his work and you will just get a case of like Hunter x Hunter, which he recently started up again, but now he has gone back again because of his poor health. Like, but we know that these artists have to take care of themselves, and we also have to be there to also understand and be understanding. Whenever I have a discussion with someone about the Solo Leveling anime or manhwa, it's usually about the visuals. And while it is important, because bad visuals can be a distraction and can take away from a good story, but I don't think it is the most vital. There are cases of people loving stories even though they have weak visuals. Example of them include early One Piece, One Punch Man Season 2, Tower of God manhwa, God of High School manhwa, etc. On other note, there are good visuals but poor stories that are not well regarded or won't be on anybody's top 20 list, but everybody considers them as pretty looking. Sword Art Online, the 8th light novel, the 8th novel manga, Return of Disaster Class Hero manhwa. All of them have brilliant art style, but nobody is going to regard them as their top 20 or anything like that, because the story was just basic. Especially Solo Leveling, you have this instance where like I think the first 2 episodes of Solo, and then the story just kind of like drags on and into like mediocrity, which is just sad. For me, the most important source is the story and how well the series writer can communicate that. There are several things that needs to be visualized in a different way than a webcomic or the light novel. One big thing of note is the system that enables sungjinwoo to level up and is a core part of the story. It's most likely going to get a voice actor, like as it was in the light novel. This in the light novel, the system actually had a voice, like it had a voice that John always heard, but it's not always clear how, like, the level of what he was actually hearing and what he was actually like reading. But since it was like light novel, it didn't really matter since you are reading everything. But now, how much of the system are we going to hear talking? Like when you hear level up, are we going to always get like level up, level up, level up on his head? Or are we just going to see text? Also, in that same vein, like when all the items that he gets, ability that he read and read his spec, is he going to constantly read it out to us or not? Because if you think about it, like so far the amount of things we get in the story, if you just constantly keep reading, it's going to just be there to like drag the story along. But if there's another voice reading that is reading it too, there are different ways in which that will actually translate to the story and affect the story moving forward. We also have Sungjinwoo's thoughts. How much of his thought are we going to hear? Since in the story and in the light novel and the webtoon, it's usually used to communicate exposition to us. But if you do that in an audiovisual medium, it will usually comes across as weak writing. So like those kind of things, that things that they don't get right can really hamper the story and can really make it even like it's just very annoying experience, just a slog to get through. A good example of this bland dialogue comes from Demon Slayer. There's this scene from episode 3 which you are currently seeing on screen right now, and this scene we don't need Tanjiro's thoughts at all, but for some reason the writers thought it wise to give us these thoughts in painstaking details, even though it was highly unnecessary. And like these things could have probably worked better when it was in manga format, like because if it's manga format, draw the sword, it's probably difficult to know if, like what maybe it was sword or real or not. So those kind of things, they work and they're less intrusive. But in an anime format, it's just annoying and straight up annoying. It's just insulting the intelligence of the watchers, and we don't want that for solo leveling. Solo leveling deserves better. I can only hope that love and care is given to the visual storytelling aspect, which Demon Slayer for some reason just clearly lacked. The best example of visual storytelling, in my own opinion, comes from Violet Evergarden. There's this scene where she woke up and she's asking about her commander, and then you can see everyone is tensed up without seeing anything. Like the story delivers so much which is being said without actually seeing anything, and it's just so amazing. Like if you've never watched Violet Evergarden, you should go and watch this anime. It is awesome. This is how you pass exposition. Not some clunky way or some but it's just really frustrating way. Maybe this is wishful thinking, and I used to be okay with that scene without getting Tanjiro's thought. So hopefully we can get something like that where they don't like, if things are happening, they don't really need to delve into the thought, so they can always display it. It's an anime medium. You have more wiggle room to show things. Another good thing to note again is like, how do they plan on pacing the story? Are we getting 12 or 24 episodes, which will translate 110 chapters from the manual, and will it be enough? Like Solo Leveling has a blitzing place and it fits the type of story that the manual is trying to tell, but what type of story is the anime going to try and tell? Like it cuts out a lot of things from the light novel that felt out of place, like the nurse who had a crush on him and called him like a dozen times. It also added some things to which I felt like was really needful and helped to bring some characters arc around, like the apology got from Kim Sang-shik. And like imagine if you have a 12 episode anime, like they're going to cover like 110 chapters in 12 episodes. Just imagine what they're going to have to cut out to fit into that thing. Like usually when you're adapting anime, you usually adapt like 2 to 3 chapters per episode. If you go for like 3 chapter episode max, if you're going to adapt all 110 chapters, you still need about 36 episodes. So that's the thing, like how are they going to fit all this into it? There's always a point to be made that webtoons are shorter and the speed might help, but what of those slow moments that need to be ultra slow in the anime just to might like the date he went on with Chang? Like you can't tell me that they're going to do that like in half of an episode. Like those kind of things take time, and you need to even build it and add other things to it to give it a different sense of flavor than that. Like show like the motion, show them getting on the ride, show how they are unenthusiastic, show the ride of the dragon is taking them across. I know that's like season 2 stuff, but that's like I kind of stuff I'm talking about. Or when he was getting beaten in the class of dungeon where he got his class upgrade, you have to show those kind of things, like how the struggle went, how the stuff felt like time was passing, because time actually has to pass in an anime medium. Definitely journal pacing doesn't fit Solo Leveling, as it isn't there isn't that much world building, as the world is similar to ours, just like with a few tweaks. So there's no really need to be like draw and like try and explain different type of things. But it's also kind of just interesting to see how the anime will handle it. Like we don't want a like a story to be rushed, like Tokyo Ghoul was. I know to pull off Tokyo Ghoul, but that story was rushed. Like if you've read the manga, you would have seen that it was highly rushed, and there was some things that were cut out that just made the anime appear edgy, whereas the story was dark. It was touching. It was more touching in the anime. Especially like in the later part of Tokyo Ghoul, Route A or something like that, and then the real one that came afterwards, which apparently most people have not seen. Translating a medium from a light novel to an anime series is difficult. We can only hope that A1 Picture and Crunchyroll remembers to give this story as much love as they give the fight and the choreography. Hopefully we can also get some banger tunes on the way. This is just concerns I have that has been eating away at me, so I thought I would share them with the wider YouTube audience. If you wish to see more solo leveling content like this, drop a like, and if you would love to see more of my face, why not subscribe? Thank you.
Can I follow you back to your room, watching you bloom in the light of the moon? Can I follow you back to your arms?